Harmonic Arts Botanical Dispensary, and today we're going to make a Nutmylk. A Nutmylk is basically any nut ground up with water and then filtered out. The water captures the fat content of the nut. For those of you who have not made a Nutmylk before, it's quite a simple process. To make a Nutmylk, you need a few basic things: some nuts, a blender, and a Nutmylk bag. Basically, all we're going to do is either soak or use dried nuts, put them into our blender. Now, you don't need a high-powered fancy blender like this. You can use any old blender. We're going to put them into the blender, put them through a Nutmylk bag, which is like so, and I'll show you kind of like this. Just basically a nylon bag that we're able to use as a filtration device. And then from there, we're going to have freshly made Nutmylk. Let's get started. As you can see here, I have a whole bunch of different types of nuts. I have some pine nuts, I've got cashews, I've got hemp seeds, I've got pumpkin seeds, I've got Brazil nuts. The hazelnuts and the almonds I've soaked in order to get rid of the enzymes that are on the skins. They have enzyme inhibitors actually, which are basically anti-nutrients. And what these do is they help preserve the nut so that it doesn't sprout in the winter. So we don't really want these. So what we've done is, you can see how cloudy this has become. We're gonna take these, throw out the first batch of water, and then rinse them again before we make them into our Nutmylk. This ensures that the enzyme inhibitors are removed and that we have fresh, clean nuts to work with. What this has done is it has created a sort of sprouted live nut. For the first Nutmylk I'm gonna make today, we're gonna make a straight up almond milk. All right, I've rinsed my almonds and I'm ready to start making my Nutmylk. So now I need to come up with the right ratio of water to nuts. Typically, when I'm making a Nutmylk, about half a cup of almonds to 1 liter of water is a perfect amount. Now, if I want to make a little thicker Nutmylk or a concentrate, I might go all the way up to a cup of almonds to that liter of water. If I want to make a thinner Nutmylk, I might go down to 1/3 of a cup. That's about a half a cup of almonds. We're gonna add in whatever best water we have. This can also be done with tea. Water is not the only type of liquid we can use. Once we have the almonds and the water put together, we're ready to turn the blender on. When working with the blender, it's best to start on the lowest setting and move your way up to the higher settings and give it a blend for about 30 seconds to a full minute. All right, our blender is done. We're ready to go. I've got myself a Nutmylk bag here, but this is what we're gonna use to help filter out the almond meal that is left over. Typically, the Nutmylk bag is put on top of the blender like so. There's a little elastic cord, so it sits on just perfectly like this. And then we're gonna pour evenly into our bowl. When we're making this, we kind of wanna increase the surface area, so gently massaging back and forth over the surface area of the Nutmylk bag makes it last longer. If we just start reefing and tugging on it like this, we're gonna slowly break down the seams and the Nutmylk bag won't last quite as long. So best to kind of do it gently, and then not until the very end do you give it a good squeeze. Now we have a whole bunch of leftover pulp. What are we gonna do with this? Well, this can either be composted, or what we like to do is we either stick it in a freezer container and then use it as a ground meal for all kinds of baking goods, or we'll grind it down, dehydrate it, and then grind it again once it's been dehydrated on a dehydrator and create it into like an almond flour. Now that we have our Nutmylk, we can start to add some flavor to it. We can thicken it up, we can add all different types of ingredients in it, or we could just drink it on its own. Typically, one of these Nutmylks is best kept in the fridge for up to 2 to 3 days, but I really prefer to make it daily. So we have our base Nutmylk, and now we're gonna add some flavors. 2 favorites of mine are a little bit of vanilla and a little bit of honey. To do a vanilla bean properly, you need to fillet the bean down and then scrape out the seeds. The seeds are really the valuable part that we're gonna use for this. So we're gonna fillet the bean and then scrape out these seeds. They're gonna go right into the blender. Oh, see all those? Beautiful. So I'm also gonna add in a tablespoon of raw honey to help drive the nutrients deeper into the tissues and give it that nice flavor. So now that I've added in the honey and the vanilla, we are gonna give it another quick blend and serve it up. All right, this is the moment I've been waiting for. Time to test out this nut milk. So much tastier fresh than coming out of a container. So making your own fresh nut milk versus buying it in a Tetra Pak has a few benefits. One, it is a higher quality and better nutrient content. Two, it reduces the carbon footprint by not having to recycle the Tetra Pak. And three, it doesn't have any additives or preservatives in it. So we've made ourselves an almond milk here, but it's not the only kind of nut we can use. Hazelnuts make a really great milk. Brazil nuts make a nice, rich and creamy milk that has high selenium content. Pumpkin seeds are a nice add-in to a nut milk, as in giving a little bit of zinc. We just cut them and make a malty nut milk. The high zinc and selenium are protective to our endocrine glands, and so this becomes an important feature in creating a nutrient-dense diet. Pine nuts make a really rich, creamy nut milk, almost like a nut milk concentrate. Cashews also make a nut milk. You don't even have to filter out the cashews, and they're quite rich and creamy, great for making nut milk out of teas. You can also use hemp seeds and coconut. Now, if you're using coconut, it's a great way to add in for a malty nut milk to cut down all the other nuts. I really like making pine nut milk because it's quite rich and creamy, as well as cashews are quite rich and creamy. So if you're looking for that high fat content, choose one of those two. Now that you know the basics of making your own nut milk, this is an easy practice you can incorporate into your daily lifestyle. So I hope you take this with you and make this a daily practice. Thanks for joining me. I'm Yarrow from Harmonic Arts.